I believe in my absolute heart of hearts, with no shade of doubt whatsoever, that if you, wherever you are in the world right now, read every single book that was in my library, you would be a millionaire. That's not like fake. That's not me just throwing it out there. I'm dead serious. Everybody knows that I credit my library as the #1 reason as for me being successful, right? That's #1 over everything, right? Of course, like trading played a part and then business played a part, but I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't read all of these books. And you may think it's like fake, kind of come in and show the library. I can pick up any one of these books and just start scrolling through it, and you will flat out see like highlights, no matter what. Like I can go Think and Grow Rich. It does, like you see right here, highlights, literally. It doesn't matter what book it is here. I've highlighted every single thing here. But what I did do was pick out some of my favorites that I want to go over. This is going to be a straight raw video and kind of tell you why they're my favorites so you guys can buy them yourself, because books are very inexpensive. So we're going to come over here to my closet and I have it outlined on my island. And there's a lot of great books here for a lot of different reasons, whether it's, most of it is financial, but the overall gist of it is personal development. And the overall first book that I've ever read, like I mean ever, in college when I started my journey, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This entire Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the series, right? Increase your financial IQ, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This is another Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I got 2 of these right here. Cash Flow Quadrant. Like the entire Rich Dad series taught me so much about life, right? Like I can go to this one, right? This was the exact copy of what I had. This is one I just bought again last year because I wanted to read the book again and I was in the library. But look, you can see how like old it is. Every single page is highlighted. This was the first book that taught me about money and how money is supposed to be used and spent and how do you actually make money. Not a matter of, oh, I'm gonna do X, Y. No, this is like actual sound advice on what the rich do for money and what the poor do for money. It's a mindset shift. And that's why I said if every single person read every book that was in my library that filled up my brain, like I'm so serious, if every single person read every single book that was in my library, they will be so successful. It comes down to intaking knowledge. And if you're not a reader, then audiobooks, but these exact books. The second book I read was The Power of Focus. This book highlighted as well, right? This book taught me so much about focusing on the right things and how to focus, right? How to, segment your focus, right? People like to focus in spurts in terms of, I'm gonna focus for 20 minutes and then I'm gonna, try to focus for the next hour, but then I'm really having the game on in the background doing X, Y, and Z. This book taught me, like, if you have certain business targets, financial targets, whatever the case may be, personal development targets, you have to go through an extreme, like, little area of focus that nobody can bother you. It kind of goes with deep work as well. Another book where it's like, it's not a matter of literally working 8 to 10 hours a day. It's more so, what are you doing in those 8 to 10 hours a day, right? This book taught me that not every single person is working 8 to 10 hours a day, right? They're gonna work for 2 hours straight, but then the other 6 hours, they're like on social media, BSing, but their time for work is still clocking as 8 hours. You're not really working for 8 hours, right? You're literally BSing. If everybody counted how often they would work, I mean like face in front of the computer, or if you're a fitness trainer, face in front of the client, right? In terms of actual work, you're not working for 8 hours. You're walking around, you're doing X, Y, and Z. You're not really working. I'm gonna come across this side. On top of that, another book that I read that I absolutely loved was Social Media Made Me Rich. This was the first book that outlined to me, highlighted as well, like if you want an ideal dream life, you need to literally dream big. And what I mean by dream big is literally this. It taught me, again, how to be rich as well. I'm gonna find the exact page right here, actually. This right here. So I implore everybody to do this spreadsheet because this changed my life when I read this years ago. It literally is a 3-table column, right? What I want, you put what you want down there. How much per month and why I want it, right? So I'm not gonna show you mine, but I have a whole Google Doc of mine, right? What I want. So his is, what do I want? A Ferrari F430. How much per month? $2,700 per month, right? Lease, finance, whatever the case may be. Why I want it. My favorite sports car. Next thing, 5,000 square foot home. $3,500 a month mortgage. It's comfortable living for my family. Housekeeper, private schooling, NetJets membership, $4,166 per month. Commercial air travel sucks, right? 7 vacations a year, $14,000 per month. Vacations make me happy, right? Personal assistance, I tend to be very unorganized, 3.3K a month, right? So you outline your ideal dream life in terms of what is going to make me happy, right? Let's say, don't imagine, oh, next year. Don't imagine, oh, okay, this is my expenses now. No, talk about you in the future. Like, you as in a girl or a man, what is gonna make me happy? If I had this house, this car, this, that personal sense, dream big, then research how much that is per month and why you want it. And then look at that sheet every single day. Because I did that and it took me a year to get to where I wanted to get to. My goals that I actually put there was actually too small that I had to redo it once I got there, right? So this book taught me that. Tortoise in the Hare was one of my favorite books because it actually shows me flat out, like, don't worry about how fast everybody's going, right? Direction is more important than speed. You may see your peers are passing you up and doing X, Y, and Z and this and that. Direction is so much more important than speed. As long as you know where you're going, it doesn't matter. Actually, that canvas right there actually embodies it, right? It says, chase the vision, the money will follow, right? So don't chase the money, right? Chase the actual vision, right? So direction is more important than speed. There's a woman named Candace Owens that you guys may know, controversial woman. She talked about how when she was in college, one of her best friends was going out to the club and met up with like a rapper dude who was like giving her all types of stuff. And, she was doing all the tours and stuff like that. And, Candace felt like she was behind and she was crying as if she should be going on tours with them. Not that she wasn't invited. She was invited, but like she wanted to focus on her work. And she focused so much on her work that a decade later, she's Candace Owens and she went to a hotel to go check in and she went to go eat. And the friend that was living life 10 years ago was the waitress. And they looked at each other and it was very, very awkward, right? That's how it is, right? Direction is more important than speed. 10X Rule, another great book that changed my life because it taught me that whatever you think it takes to get to success, you got to do that times 10. Like that's just the message of the book, massive action. If you think, oh, if I post, 20 times per year on Instagram, I'm going to grow. Times 10, you got to do 200, right? Like it talks about, this is one of the books as well. It talks about like people, again, overestimate how much they can do in a year and underestimate how much they can do in a couple years, right? When you underestimate what you can do over 2 or 3 years if you do what you're doing consistently, times 10, right? I went to an Alex Hormozi conference and I talked to him and we had gotten to a conversation. He was like, who's your most, the biggest X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, in terms of like, ROI, in terms of the person in your company. And I had mentioned that, my videographer, I mentioned years ago, and then now my videographer now, and then Connor. And he was just like, okay, if Connor is that, why don't you get 10 more Connors to do that? So it was just like very, very simple, where it was like, we try to make things complex. And he's just like, I look at businesses in my portfolio and I just ask them one simple question. Why can't we do 10 times more than what you're already doing? If you're posting this much on Instagram, why can't we do it times 10? If you have one person who's like in charge of, the storytelling in the business, he's a great videographer, why can't we get 10 more of those? Why aren't you spending every single waking moment of your day trying to get 10 more of that person? You're trying to get 10 more customer support agents who have no impact on ROI. Get 10 more of these. And Alex Hormozi drove that into me. So that was very, very, very important. Another book, The Ultimate Freelancer's Guidebook, right? This is important, especially if you don't have, or if you have a job, but you're trying to like figure out. And this is kind of like a bit of the premise of Deep Pockets, right? Deep Pockets wouldn't teach you financial literacy, but also give you monetizable skills. This book taught me so much when I was babysitting that it was like, and this book is highlighted as well, right? Highlighted as well, where it like outlines what you can do as a freelancer, the jobs you can get where you don't have to work a 9 to 5. You actually can literally do a bunch of freelancing gigs and make 5K a month, 6K a month, 7K a month. Like this book changed my life because it outlined to me that, I think I probably got this book before I started babysitting, and it outlined to me that I could babysit if I just did this and made a company, in which I did with my friend Jones, my best friend Jones. I don't remember when exactly I got this book. I feel like I got it right after I dropped out of college. I don't remember, but I do know this book was a game changer for me, right? Psychology of Money, and I actually have 2 of them right here, right? Literally have 2 of them. Both of them are highlighted, right? I have this thing where, if you look, if I have a book and I read it and I love it, and a year later I'm like in Malta or in Dubai and I don't have the book with me and I want to read it again, I'm just going to buy another book. I could get the ebook, but I like physical books a lot better. Psychology of Money. This book changed my perspective on life so much. It outlined to me that nobody cares really about how much money you really make. They really care about how they can do that, right? And a few things that they taught me about it in this book, and I'm going to go to some things right now, right? One of the things they taught me about compounding that was very, very important, 2 things. Never enough and compounding. Compounding, they taught me 81.5 billion of Warren Buffett's 84.5 billion net worth came after his 65th birthday. After his 65th birthday. So that means after his 65th birthday, 81 out of 84 billion came after that. You guys are not built, it says our minds are not built. You guys are not built to be like, Oh, okay, 65. You guys think 65 is old. He was, I mean, 3 billion is a lot of money, but he was worth 3 billion before that, right? And then 81 came after that. And the chapter before that, about never enough, there was a party, and literally the first page of that book, literally, there was a party going on. A billionaire was throwing the party, and a husband and wife was dancing in the party. Somebody comes running in. One of his friends was like, "Yo, why weren't you with us in the office? We made, X, Y, and Z. This person made an extra million or extra 10. I forgot what it was." And the guy said, "I'll have what he never has." And he says, "What?" And he says, "Enough." Meaning he has enough. He doesn't have to do more to get to where he wants to get to. So this book is very, very, very important to me in terms of understanding. You have to have a certain number that is actually enough for you, but also after that, in terms of compounding, learning that Warren Buffett, 81 out of his 84 billion came after his 64th birthday or 65th birthday is very, very important to me. And then on top of that, there was another story in there, 2 stories on there, where people don't understand that Bernie Madoff, right, the whole biggest Ponzi scheme guy, that he had an actual business that he was making $50 to $100 million per year every single year. He just decided he was just greedy. He never had enough. He wanted more and more and more. Started the Ponzi scheme, ended up going to jail, right? Another guy, an Indian guy named Rajat Gupta, I think that's his name, right? Like he came from India, came from the slums. Like this whole story is here on how like it was a miracle. He was worth $100 million as well. But his mindset was he wasn't cool enough to sit at the billionaires table. Some of his friends were billionaires. He couldn't sit at the billionaire table. So what he did was he started insider trading just to make extra money so he can go up to that billionaire level. Ended up going to jail, ended up ruining his reputation, and he never had enough, even though he was worth $100 million. So that book is very important to me as well. The 4-Hour Work Week is important, but from a business perspective, this book is controversial. Grant Cardone hates it, but obviously Tim Ferriss loves it, right? So it just depends on who you're listening to. But it kind of outlines, depends on what you want for your life. If you're trying to be a mega billionaire, then Grant Cardone is right. You can't really have a 4-hour work week. If you're somebody who's just trying to automate their entire life and live comfortably off of $1 to $2 million, this book works for you, where everything you do is completely automated. That means emails, calendars, X, Y, and Z. Your entire business is automated. You're never really there. You only work 4 hours a week, and you just give decisions. That's pretty much it. Atomic Habits is important too, because if you have bad habits, any habit can be actually changed. I actually love this book because it talks about the ways you can actually change your habits. A lot of people out there in the world feel like they're stuck a certain way, like, oh, I was born this way. No, the fuck you wasn't, right? Flat out, right? People say, oh, like, I have a habit, I have this bad habit, X, Y, and Z. You wasn't born smoking cigarettes, you wasn't born going to parties, you just have this bad habit. Now, that bad habit can be changed. And I love that book because it talks about people want to have extraordinary, results within 1 to 2 days, and it takes a very long time to actually get those results, right? When people don't have the strength to actually go on for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months to slowly change their habits, right? That book is important. Debt Destroyer, right? This book is highlighted as well. This book literally single-handedly got me out of debt, right? I remember getting this book in 2016 and reading it flat out and understanding the concepts in terms of, student loans and what I had to do and how to pay things off and how to go down the ladder. This book is very, very important to me. Not necessarily important to me now, but back in 2016, 2017, 2018, this book helped me a lot. So I would recommend this book for sure. Rich Bitch. Oh, I actually love this book so much that I didn't even know this book was for women until after I read it. Like the concepts are so good. This entire book is literally highlighted. I remember buying this book in Trumbull Mall in Trumbull, Connecticut. I remember literally going to the bookstore and reading it in the food court. I literally remember this. I don't know what year it was, but I remember getting this book. And it's literally a simple 12-step plan for getting your financial life together by Nicole Lapin, right? Talk about how to lay out and achieve your 1, 3, 5, and 10-year goals. She outlined a lot of concepts to me that I wasn't really familiar with. And this wasn't like a book I read after 20, right? Like in terms of like, I just outlined a bunch of books to you. This is literally one of the first 10 books I read, right? It was like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Power of Focus, The Success Principles, which isn't here, but I have it as an ebook on my my iPad because I lost the physical book when I think it's in storage somewhere. But that was like third. This was like fifth or sixth. So this is one of the first 10 books I ever read when I started my journey. And it's literally one of my favorites. It talks about investing. If you don't know nothing about nothing, this book is very, very important to your journey. Ask Gary Vee is important as well because it's a book that focuses on a bunch of fans just asking questions over and over again. Like, literally, Gary Vee, I'm this, I'm a 60-year-old woman and I can't do X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. What's your advice? And it's just the entire book is about Gary Vee giving advice, right? Like, again, this book, gotta find the highlights, but I know this book is highlighted freaking somewhere. or literally right here, I'm in the beginning, yeah, like literally, book is highlighted, right? It's literally just Gary Vee just literally giving so much advice on certain people's situations, and you'll never know until you read the actual book that certain people's situations may apply to you. So I love that book. Now, Tool of Titans and Tribe of Mentors. I remember where I was when I got both of these books. I was near Naugatuck, Connecticut, like deeper in Connecticut. And I went to like Barnes & Nobles and I got these books, right? And this book is literally just Tim Ferriss interviewing all the billionaires and icons and world-class performers on what their routine is, what their tactics are, and what their habits are. So you got people like Triple H from WWE, but you got Arnold Schwarzenegger in here, right? You have, Mark Cuban, like a bunch of billionaires in here. He's just asking their advice, right? And Tribe of Mentors is short life advice from the best in the world. So every chapter, there's like, let's say 200 chapters. Every chapter is a new person and their advice and their perspective on life. There's authors, there's actresses, there's literally everybody you look up to. Most likely they're in one of these two books, and it's just their schedule and their life and what they do to be successful. So you can see, right? Like, boom, Tony Robbins is in here, right? Have this whole page highlighted, this whole chapter. Boom, the best investment he's ever made. $35 for a 3-hour Jim Rohn seminar he attended at the age of 17. He agonized over the $35 decision as he was only making $40 a week as a janitor, but Jim gave Tony's life direction. And decades later, when Tony asked Warren Buffett what his all-time best investment was, the answer was a Dale Carnegie public speaking course taken at 20. If Tony Robbins and Warren Buffett are saying the same thing, then everything I'm saying is absolutely factual. This is why I keep saying that if whoever you are in the world is outlined in this world, were to read every single book I'm actually giving to you, you would be in a lot better situation than you are right now. And you got Tony Robbins and Warren Buffett literally point blank period saying the same exact thing. I'm very, very serious. I'm not saying this like I'm not, saying, oh, go buy something that's like $50,000. These are all books you can get off Amazon, right? The links are in the description below, but you can literally get all these books off Amazon. And what I did was I just started buying in 2015 and started keeping a collection over and over and over again. And now it's 2024. This is like a 9-year collection. And there's obviously more books in that actual library right there. Your Next 5 Business Moves is a very good book for business people only. This book is obviously highlighted as well, but this isn't even the original one. I obviously got this highlighted as well, but this isn't the original one. The original one is somewhere, because I have 2 of these as well in my office, but this focuses on what your strategy should be when you start a business. But I will say the beginning part of Patrick Bet-David's story is very, very important because you guys may be going through it. Patrick Bet-David was a partier. He would be with different women every weekend. He said it in this book. And he said one time his dad got very, very sick. And when he was in the hospital, the nurses weren't doing like much to help him, and they were like going through the motions, and they were taking their time, he was waiting, and he was like freaking out and spazzing and cursing everybody out. And they just flat out said, your dad has general insurance, taxpayers insurance, right? It's just like, there's nothing that we can do. We can give him and then we can send him home. But like, they had to outline to him, your dad is not some mega multi-millionaire where he's doing this and has his own private insurance. No. So he left, he cried, and he vowed to never go to a party again and never do anything crazy again and started focusing on his life. And then 10 years later, now he has this $30 million mega mansion in Fort Lauderdale, right? So the ending of the book, and this is the same with Rich Dad Poor Dad, where I read this book in 2014, and the second half of this book I didn't understand because it was about real estate investing, the second half, and I had to read it again in 2018. Then I understood everything. This is kind of the same thing where the last half of the book, like you probably should read when you start a business, but the first half you can read right now and apply it to your life. Bitcoin, the future of money, the Bitcoin tutor. Very, very important because I do believe in Bitcoin a lot. I was reading these books when Bitcoin was at $400 and $500. Like I literally had a physical Bitcoin, and I sold it because I was broke in college and it went up. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna take the $1,200, right? So, but Bitcoin, they teach you everything you need to know about cryptocurrencies in general. The Almanac, Charles Munger and Warren Buffett. This is literally their entire wisdom. And if you don't know who it is, they're literally best friends. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger are 2 of the richest men in the world. Charlie Munger just died, actually, but Warren Buffett's still alive and kicking. This is just all their wisdom on investing in general. The immutable laws of marketing. If you're in business, this talks about how you have to stand out. Like this book, again, highlighted as well. This book talks about, how you actually have to stand out and be the first something, right? So if I can go through this book, they talk about how, oh, you remember who the first president was, but you don't remember who the first or the 6th or 7th or 8th president was, like unless you're like into politics, right? Just off the top of your head, just like that, right? Or, Needs to be better. One of the things we talked about was, let me see, boom, let me show you. What's the name of the first person to fly the Atlantic Ocean solo? Charles Lindbergh. What's the name of the second person? You can't answer it. But then they talk about, what's the name of the first woman who did it? Amelia Earhart, right? So it's like, you got to be the first something in a category to stand out to people. So this book for business is a lot. I don't know why I waited so long to talk about this, but this is absolutely my favorite money book in the world, The Richest Man in Babylon. I actually don't know why I waited so long to talk about this, but by far, if you know nothing about money, this is the greatest book about money in there. They talk about how a part of all you earn is yours to keep, meaning the guy who was scribing tablets and stuff overnight, he was like, isn't everything I earn mine to keep? And they had to flat out tell him that, like, no, because the minute you get your money, you pay the bricklayer, you pay this person, you pay X, Y, Z, you pay everybody but yourself, you pay yourself last. So this book is very, very important to outline to you that, there's an actual strategy you have to actually get to where you want to go, right? So number one, start your purse to fattening. This book is like written a long time ago, so like the words in here is like old school. Imagine like the King James version of the Bible. Like it's like that instead of like the modern version, right? Control thy expenditures, right? Make thy gold multiply. Guard thy treasures from loss. But like the actual analogies in this book changed my life when I was first starting out. So read this book for sure. The 5 love languages is very, very good as well. If you want to, from a relationship standpoint, and then 23 questions about hell from a spiritual standpoint. I remember I was babysitting this family, the Hill family, I guess, and Colin McKinney, I remember who he was. He came in from, I think, a night out with his girlfriend, and I was babysitting his little brother, Wolf Hill, and he had outlined that I should read this book. And he was saying that, like, you have a girlfriend? I said, no. And then he said, well, when you do get one, you should read this book flat out, because this book outlines everything you need to know about, how to love somebody, how to cherish somebody, what their X, Y, and Z, their love languages. So me and Bay look at that book a lot of times, and that was like the foundation of our relationship. Productivity hacks. There's 500 different ways to be productive, and it outlines it in this book as well. So it's like little things where it's like 68, 69, 70, 71, like on things you can do to stay motivated and stay productive and to clear out all distractions. So I literally love this book so much, and I would recommend it. How to Win Friends and Influence People. This book talks so much about understanding everybody's point of view. People like to call me, some people like in terms of soft, because I understand people's point of view a lot, but this book changed my entire life. A lot of times I used to think I was always right in every situation. This book always led me to understand, look at it from somebody else's perspective. The best analogy from that book that they talk about in terms of people's real life is Abraham Lincoln sent his general out to the battlefield and with specific instructions to capture their enemy, literally. And the general got to the battlefield and saw the enemy, and the enemy was begging, and they could have captured him. Then he let him go. And then Abraham Lincoln was so furious, and he sat down and wrote like a nasty letter to the general and saying, like, you traitor, you this and that, and we had him, and blah, 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 and can't believe you. And then somebody pointed out to him that you got to understand from his point of view, he saw so many people die. He saw streaks of blood and terror and screams and this and that, and everybody on that battlefield was basically dead, and he didn't want to continue anymore. So you got to look at it from his point of view. Like, yeah, it would have been nice to capture him, but like, look at it from his point of view. Like, you're in here with a fireplace looking at, the newspaper and chilling and eating food while he's on the battlefield. It's easy for you to be mad at him. You weren't there. And it's like, Abraham Lincoln was like, you're right. And then threw the letter away, right? So it's like, it's things like that where it's like, this book taught me to understand everybody's point of view no matter what. I'm never always right. There's always two sides to a story. Oh, this is the original Richest Man in Babylon that I had. Like, you can see how this book is like, every single part of this is fully highlighted. Some books that aren't necessarily here, because I don't know where I put them. The Millionaire Fastlane, I would say flat out, is probably in my top 10 books as well. Where did that go? Like, I had a bunch of books on here. They weren't in my office, right? It's the Millionaire Fastlane, the 10 Pillars of Wealth. I'm surprised because the 10 Pillars of Wealth may not be here. I don't know if I put that back in my library. I doubt it, but the 10 Pillars of Wealth is literally one of my favorite books, and that's in my top 10 as well. I'll make a list that Connor can make as a graphic at the end of this video, but like the actual top 10 books, I don't know why it's not here. They may be downstairs somewhere, but the 10 Pillars of Wealth is in there, and the Millionaire Fastlane is in there. If you know absolutely nothing about like making money, I would recommend the Millionaire Fastlane. I'd actually recommend the Millionaire Fastlane over like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like from start to finish. Rich Dad Poor Dad is good to just understand money in general, but the Millionaire Fastlane and 10 Pillars of Wealth, think of Rich Dad Poor Dad, but like in a broken down modern version of it, right? Alex Becker did a great job. MJ DeMarco did a great job with those books. Those are my top 10. Those are things you actually have to get. But just look at, people like to talk about Think and Grow Rich. I like it, but it's not in my favorites. It's all right. How Rich Asians Think is similar to Think and Grow Rich. I like it. Like, still, this is highlighted as well. Just not in my favorites, right? But still highlighted. Fixing your mind the exact amount of money you desire. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return, what you want to do energy-wise. Really good book. A lot of these books in here are like business books as well, so that's why I didn't like go too much into it, because a lot of it is business, or like Elon Musk, full life story, or Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger's more advice. More Rich Dad series, The Intelligent Investor. This book is literally, if you look at this right now, this is literally who Warren Buffett said like changed his whole life. Benjamin Graham, but if you're not an investor, I guess this book doesn't apply to you. More Berkshire Hathaway books. Why the Rich Get Richer, What is Financial Education? Like, there's a lot of books in here that deal with, like I said, like business in general. Books down here is like journals, so like I literally would like write in my journals as well. The 100-day financial goal journal, right? The 100-day goal journal, so I write the same things every single day over and over and over again. Trying to see anything. Oh, You Owe You by Eric Thomas. Actually a really good book. Like, it's actually a really, really, really good book by E.T. Because if you guys like motivational speakers, you'll love Eric Thomas, but like he has everything he's been saying in physical book form. So I would recommend You Owe You for sure. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is okay, but like I said, the list that I had out there and that I put at the end, like the top 25, is really, really for you guys. And like I said, if you can come even closer, or you can see it from there, Connor, like How to Stop Worrying, Start Living. I literally have almost every single personal development book known to man. Just some books are my favorites and some books aren't. Like the Bezos Blueprint is in here. Influence is in here, right? Like Persuasion, like I have a lot of books in here. But those books that I put over there on my island are my favorite. And the ones that are missing, they're somewhere in this house. I would literally put them somewhere else. What happened? Just the books that I had on this island. Like I had the Millionaire Fastlane, 10 Pillars of Wealth, when I was doing my top books overall, and then they're just not here. They're not in my office because Connor went in there, but no, I don't think they're in there because we just brought that in there. 48 Laws of Power. This is the #1 most famous book in jail. So much so they actually banned it from prisons. Because people literally use this book to get more power and run the prisons, but like this book is completely highlighted as well. I think this is a very good book. Just to understand enemies, understand competition, understand everybody doesn't have your best interests at heart. So I love that book as well. The Millionaire Course and the Dropout Multimillionaire is very, very good as well. This is really good if you're someone who's starting from zero. A Visionary Plan for Creating the Life of Your Dreams by Mark Allen. So it goes from literally knowing nothing about money to like, okay, knowing everything about money to like, manifesting. This is a really, really, really good book. I'm surprised I didn't even say this in the beginning. But if you are somebody who like is a visionary but doesn't really know exactly like how to get there, I'd recommend this book as well. It's not in my top 10, but if you're somebody who is zero and you're trying to like map out this dream life, it would be my top 10 books to recommend to you guys. Prime example, the 10X Rule is in my top 10 books of all time, but like I wouldn't recommend that to you guys starting from zero, right? From zero, this book is in here, right? I'll at the end of it, I'll give a list of kind of like top 5 books starting from zero, top 5 books for business owners, top 5 books for personal development, top 5 books for, like we got the Dave Ramsey stuff, right? That was a great book, one of my favorite books to get out of debt, because he outlined in that book, that's downstairs somewhere, but he outlined in that book that like, if you have this like so much debt from like 5 different, places, you have to pay the minimum on the highest and then just pay as much as you can on the lowest so that when it gets cleared, you have a win. Like people aren't prone to losing so much and being okay with it. But when you have a win, like, oh, I cleared this debt off, it gives you motivated to do the second lowest and the third lowest and like the fourth lowest or the fourth highest basically, and then the absolute highest debt that you absolutely can get to because you've been paying the minimum on it for so long. Then you start throwing all the money you done paid on everything else once it's cleared to the highest debt. You got to get small wins. And I talk about that in trading a lot. Like when you get small wins, reward yourself, get a haircut, go on a shopping spree, because it means a lot. It shows you I got this from trading. Shark Tank, but this is for business owners. But in here, they have some advice from, like, again, billionaires and millionaires. They talk about, like, you know, do I need to go to college? If you're trying to start a business, you don't need to go to college. Don't listen to me if you don't care about it. Mark Cuban says that, Damon John says that, Rob Havlicek says that, Barbara Corbin says that, Lori Greiner says that, and Kevin O'Leary all says that, right? Listen to them, right? Oh, I got 2 10X rules. Of course I do. Oh, and this as well, the complete one-on-one collection. This is actually one of my favorite books. It's a big book by John C. Maxwell, but one of my favorite books because he talks about relationships and, you know, it's basically similar to How to Win Friends and Influence People. But one of the books in there, he talks about, you know, self-improvement and success and teamwork. And on the relationship side, it's like, when you have a relationship with somebody, friend, acquaintances, mother, son, father, daughter, whatever the case may be, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case may be, he talks about, like, when there's a give and take part of the relationship and somebody gives so much and somebody just takes so much and that's it, that person who gives so much is gonna start to fall away and be like, yo, I'm doing way too much. It's not a mutual type of feeling or relationship. It has to be balanced, right? No matter what it is, no matter if it's work, no matter if it's mother, son, there has to be, both parties have to give their all to the relationship. So these are my favorite books. I really, really believe in my heart of hearts that if everybody read every single book that was in my library, they would be rich. And this is gonna take you some years, right? It may take you some years to actually get there. But when you actually read every single book, you're not gonna read all this in a month or 2 months or 6 months. It's gonna take, like, every book that was in my library took me 9 years. But guess what? How long did it take me to get rich? 5 years, right? 6 years. Because I started reading in 2014 and 2020 was my first million. So about 6 years, right? So it's gonna take you some time. However, I will say that if I didn't switch so much between reality TV to battle rap to making funny skits to playing basketball and I just focused on trading and business, I would have been rich a lot faster. So if you can focus more than I could have, because I kept switching on things that can make me money. Reality TV, if I win, I get 500K. Battle rap and this and that, right? If you just focus on what you want to get to, whether it's business or trading specifically, and focus on those 2 things or that one thing, and you read and take as much knowledge as you can, you'll be successful. The last thing I'll say is that people talk all the time about, like, you get success or you become successful by just doing, right? Like, you become successful by just doing the highest ROI activities. 10 Pillars of Wealth talk about, you know, if you got $1,000 every time you ran a mile, what should you be doing? Everybody's talking about I'll be relaxing and getting a massage and stretching and then, you know, eating food, cooking the food and preparing, then running the mile. The only thing that's gonna pay you is running the actual mile. You gotta pay somebody else to make the food so you can come home and then eat for 10 minutes, let it digest, and then go back to running or walking, right? That's high ROI. But when it comes to trading or business, high ROI is studying, because you don't want to come into business and just lose money, right? 10 Pillars of Wealth doesn't talk about if you ran a mile. It doesn't talk about losing money, just if you can make money. If we could guarantee we could make money, like business and trading, no matter what, then we do just that. But there's a loss to it. When you're running a mile and you make $1,000 every time you run a mile, there's no loss to that, right? So you have to actually study and gather knowledge on business, gather knowledge on personal development, gather knowledge on yourself, and gather knowledge on trading. And in all it is, I didn't even incorporate my top trading books, but I did that on Instagram. So if you guys are interested in my top trading books, please go on Instagram and look at the reel. We'll actually put that attached for those actual books as well. We outline my top 14 or 12 favorite trading books, which is very, very important. But that, and I don't know where my other books are. They're somewhere in this house. I live in a mansion, and I don't know what the books are. They could probably use around in the living room somewhere. But regardless, yeah, if you read every single book that's in my library, you'd be rich. So I'm just doing my part in showing you guys, because my only goal and my only hope is to teach financial literacy. I'm very, very passionate about it because my family grew up very, very poor and homeless. I was able to read all these books and become very rich and successful. Now, if you just read and take no action, you're not gonna become rich and successful. I took action, I started a business, I traded my life away. I posted on YouTube, I did sponsorships and affiliates. I did everything I could to get rich, and I'm rich. So it's not just reading, you gotta read and apply. But if you can read and apply, you will be very, very, very successful. I promise you that. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you don't know who I am, my name is Chris Williams, AKA Swaggy C. I've been trading for a decade, running businesses for the last 5 years. I'm a multi-millionaire. Obviously, this is my closet in the mansion I live in Puerto Rico. Split time between Puerto Rico and Dubai. I live a great life, and that all came from these books, trading and business. And my only goal is to give you guys, you know, the keys to financial literacy and teach you guys everything that I know. And I do that on 2 platforms. One, my, you know, actual mentorship in Deep Pockets, which is a real deep work type of environment where I take you from, you know, wherever you are to where you want to get to in a specific type of mentorship. And then the second way is for free on YouTube. You know, I just give my knowledge away for free on YouTube and just do my part. So if you guys like that video, please make sure you subscribe below and like and leave a comment so I know you guys like this type of content, because 51% of people who watch my videos and give me all the, you know, thousands and hundreds of thousands of views are not even subscribed. So the only thing I ask you guys is please subscribe to the channel so we can grow and get to 1 million and then keep pushing from there. So love you guys. Later, gang.